when I first got there, we stopped at Tejon, and the next day it was the Army surgeon himself, the one who advised the commanding general, who's assigned us to our stations. Usually the personnel officer does that, but it was the doctor, colonel, who was the Army surgeon, the top man in the whole country. And he interviewed us and told us where he'd send us. And he asked me what I had done, and I'd been at Fitzsimmons General Hospital and worked there in surgical capacities. And I told him, and he said, "I'm going to send you to the MASH hospital. And Major Newman is the commander there." I said, "I know Major Newman. I was with him at Fitzsimmons General Hospital. And at one time I was running the urology service at Fitzsimmons General Hospital, and he was on that service as a training in surgery. So it was interesting that I knew the commander of the MASH hospital, and was delighted to hear it. And so I went by train back to Busan from Tejon, and interesting, on this train, they had changed and put in layers for the wounded to be put in there, and it was very ingenious that they had put this together so fast that they could put in these litters into these berths. And we got back to Tejon, we got back to Daegu, or Busan, and then I joined the 8063, and they were receiving some patients at that time. And then the next morning I visited my friend who was the commander of the MASH. Newman was his name, Frank Newman, and he was ill at the time. These are kind of personal things that I think you might find somewhat interesting. He was sick. He'd had some acute type of problem, and he was in the bed. And he was kind of a poetic fellow, and I woke him up, and he looked at me. "Martin, so you've come to the land of the morning calm." That's what Korea is known as, is the land of the morning calm, like Japan is the land of the rising sun and so forth. And so I talked to some of the other doctors there, and I said, "There's another MASH just adjacent to us, the 8054. Let's get him out of here, because we didn't have much of a setup there, and let's have him be taken care of over there. It'll be much better if he's over there now." So we did that, and he recovered in a short time. After that, our 8063 moved to Masan, and this was now the perimeter. They call it the Busan perimeter, and Busan was one of the cities, Masan was another city, and then there was a third city. I can't recall the name of it right now, but this represented the Busan perimeter, and this is where our forces were holding the North Korean army as much as possible in check. We had the Yellow Sea, and we had the Sea of Japan next to us, and it was that far back. If you think of the thumb as the whole peninsula of Korea, we were down at a part of the fingernail in the Busan perimeter. So we moved out there, and we stayed there during the rest of the summer. We got there right at end of July, and we stayed there all of August, and we stayed there into September.